Well, we thought Donald Trump was a clown. I believe this guy is going to Trump at a clown being a clown. That's right. Ron DeSantis. Let's get into it. Standing on the top now. No, nothing can move you. Well, good day, everybody. It is October 19, 2022, 12:47 p.m. How you doing today? I know I've been gone for a while, but I just did a video, and I said in the previous video that I've been dealing with some homegoings in my family, some death in my family, some pretty close to me, some were my hero, and then some was not a hero, but I still try to do whatever I can to love them anyway, and love their family anyway, even though they don't deserve it. And that's one of the hardest things in the world to do, is to love people who don't deserve it. And a lot of times change can take place when a person know that you love them, and yet you don't deserve the love. You really deserve a foot in your behind. You really deserve a dusty road elbow on top of that big old noggin of yours. You really deserve a tombstone power driver JLB lariat. You deserve a foot in your behind. Stone Cold thump down. But you realize that you get better and wiser and you grow faster when you don't give in to your devices so much. Let me get off this. Now, this is another one. This one gets me. Ron DeSantis is actually running for re-election for governor. His campaign opponent is Charlie Crist, the former governor employee, former Republican, now a Democrat. And he's desperate because he realized that this victory, if he can obtain this victory, he could solidify himself as a top contender for president in 2024. I'll repeat. If Ron DeSantis win this election, it puts him in top tier position to be a number one contender for president of the United States. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a flaming white Latino bigot. And he's trying to out-Trump Trump when it comes to bigotry. He's calculated. He's smart. He's intelligent. He's a policy pusher. And when you got a racist policy pusher, kind of like Joe Biden, these are the people you got to look for, because they are the one directly going to attack your community. Now, as this say, Governor Dumb A $, Ron DeSantis stunt to get people to not show up at the poll. Yes, excuse that question mark right there. Give me a moment. Let me check something out. Gotta get this right. Gotta get it right. Hopefully that's better. Nope. Still got that. Still got that. Still got that. Trying to correct this. Okay. There we go. Currently, there's early voting in Florida. Early voting is a plus. The Republican Party fear the early voting process because it gives Democrats a chance. With the mail-in ballots going in early, they trying to do whatever they can to stop people from coming to the polls. Can't hand out water? What's the big deal about handing out water at a freaking polling station when it may be hot? Or people been in line for 2 hours and thirsty. You want them to get out of line and get back in line and start all over again? Are you freaking kidding? You should be able to have water out there. Free water. paid for by the federal government. It shouldn't be a one-sided thing. It shouldn't have nothing to do with whether somebody in the going to vote or not. If you're voting, you should have that day off to go vote. You should be able to do same-day registration. You should have that day off vote. I believe you need to have an ID card, because we do here in New York City. You should have a valid ID, and your address in the voter roll need to match the ID. Because we do get some people trying to con artist their way into voting. It is such thing as voter fraud, whether they like tell you or not. The Democratic left is going to tell you it's not, and the Republicans are going to tell you it's got to be. It's for sure. It happens, but on a small scale. It's not on big scale with Republicans. But it happens, Democrats. Ron DeSantis recently decided to make it to harass and pick with and poke fun and try to get this on camera people who they're accusing of voter fraud. This nutwang joke of a governor. No, don't get me wrong. I rocked with him on the COVID thing. I rocked with him on that. I rocked with him on the vid. You know, the forced mandates. I rocked with him on that. See, I can rock with you if you're a bigot, if you're on the right path about something. As long as you don't let your bigotry get in the way, I ain't got no problem with you. As long as you don't let your racism get in the way, don't let your bigotry get in the way. When it comes down to brass tacks, doing things for people that need to be done, and you're willing to put your bigotry and racism to the side, if you can pull up your big boy pants and act like an adult for a change and stop letting your racism and your hatred get to you. By the way, I heard David Doyle said Kanye was spitting vile, racist hatred toward Jewish people. Are you freaking kidding me? No comment on it, man. Go sit somewhere, man, with your TYT, butt sucking behind. Go sit somewhere down, man. Trying to get your own news show. Get out of here with that bull crap. Y'all, you and Mike figure it out. Y'all, whatever TYT do, you follow suit. And I see it. That's the reason why the algorithm go in your favor and y'all numbers are up, because y'all sitting up there kissing this man behind who kissed the Democratic Party behind. Home of the progressives, my behind. Home of the poke you up and kiss my behind club. Kissing y'all, taking billionaire money. Anyway, let me get back on this. Ron DeSantis is using fear tactics. This is nothing but a fear tactic, trying to go out to the homes of mostly black people, or what they call trailer park trash, or which is really low income white people. You're going there because you believe most of them voting Democrat and all that. You're going in there to show that if you go to these polls and we find out you're not legitimately voting right, we come to get your behind. That strike fear. Nobody wants to go to jail. Nobody want to miss a day for work. Nobody want to be going through that mess. But sure enough, he's using this as a political stunt to scare people from the polls. This is unconstitutional. This is not right by this government. You're doing no more than the Taliban, no more than Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra. You're doing no more than them. You're doing no more than ISIS going around trying to scare people from voting people into power. The Democrats got this thing. If you don't vote for Stacey Abrams, you ain't black, or you don't support black women. That's a scandal, fear, tactic-led talking point. Shame and fear. Shame and fear. They're doing it this way. You doing it that way. This is bringing shame and fear to black voters, and you know exactly what you're doing. We're going to get into the story real quick. Real quick. New police footage shows confusion over DeSantis voter fraud's arrest. Now look at this bigot. Newly released police body cam footage obtained by the Tampa Bay Times and Miami Herald shows how Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' controversial voter fraud arrests unfold in August. Why does it matter? The police footage shows the level of concern and confusion over who is allowed to vote in Florida and comes as several notable Republicans have made claims of widespread voter fraud ahead of the 2022 midterms. In other words, they want to set up already that the reason why they lost is people was out there doing voter fraud. You know, now, again, I told you there are some cases of voter fraud, but it ain't that big. In August, DeSantis announced the arrest of 20 people who he said were barred from voting due to their criminal record. Now, mind you, it was against the law, and honestly speaking, y'all gonna hate me for this. To me, I think if you're gonna I don't know, how can I put this? Because most of the people in jail probably didn't do a crime. They probably was accused of a crime. And they got certain rights stripped away from them as a prisoner. And that's just the way it is. If you're a prisoner, the only thing you should have are the basic human rights. And voting, even though it should be an American right, it is not a human right like eating, drinking, food, clothing, and shelter. You know, you should be able to vote in America, but there's some things that if in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that if you do crime, you should have no connection in doing anything administratively for this society. You are in there. That is your new state. That is your new country. That's what, you know. That's just me personally. But then I think about it, there's a lot of people in jail. They will be putting people in jail innocently just to take away their right to vote. But they restored that, and yet he's still trying to continue to pursue people for voting. And he's calling it widespread voter fraud. They're setting this thing already. In August, DeSantis announced the arrest of 20 people who he said were barred from voting due to their criminal record. A record should not stop you from voting in Florida case. Now, heinous, again, like I say, heinous criminal record like murder and stuff like that, you shouldn't be able to vote. But people in jail for smoking, people are still in jail for smoking weed 5 years ago on the corner, and weed legal now. Go figure. The arrested individuals were disqualified from voting after they were convicted of murder or a felony sexual assault. Here again, the arrested individuals were disqualified from voting after they were convicted. Now, I understand that. If you were convicted for felony sexual offenses or murder, you shouldn't vote. Because of this, the individuals were charged with voter fraud, which can lead to a $5,000 fine. Who got $5,000 fine? Who got $5,000? Again, this is a fear tactic. Up to 5 years in prison. A fear tactic. So now you're scared to go vote because you got a feeling that they're going to claim that you didn't do it right, and they're going to try to hit you with a $5,000 fine and 5 years in prison. He's trying to use this as a money laundering scheme in Florida and a way to keep people locked up to do free labor, because that's still going on. For corporations, private prisons still going on in some states. So you get hit with $5,000 fine. City gonna take that money and do whatever they want to do with it. You may end up going to jail for 5 years, getting you out of society. The DeSantis office and the Office of Election Crimes and Security did not immediately respond to actually a request for comment today. The latest footage from the Time Herald showed the arrest of Tony Patterson by state police and local law enforcement. The office explained the arrest of Patterson, who is visibly confused about why he's being arrested. Let's take a look at that video.
Apparently, I guess you have a warrant?
For what?
I'm not sure.
For voter stuff.
Apparently, I guess you have a warrant?
For what?
I'm not sure.
For voter stuff, man.
For voters.
It's what it is. I think the agents with FDLE talked to you last week about some voter fraud, voter stuff, when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe. I didn't. So.
See, automatically, this is why you need an attorney. It's why I market Legal Show. Because you need to call your attorney right now. I don't understand what y'all talking about. Allow me to call my attorney right now. And he would be able to pick up the phone and call an attorney right now, and the attorney will return that phone call. He don't have to be talking to them. This cop is trying to say you did voter fraud. He's already accusing this guy of doing voter fraud, and he don't know what the hell he's talking about. Let's go back over there.
So,
What are they talking about?
that's
man?
what we're not the case agent. So,
What are they talking about?
that's
man?
about some voter fraud stuff, man.
For voters.
It's what it is. I think the agents with FDLE talked to you last week about some voter fraud, voters.
If he say yeah, then that would make him liable. I'm like, nah, nobody talking to me about no voter fraud, man. Get up out of my yard, man. You have no right to arrest me.
Stuff when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe.
I didn't.
So,
What are they talking about?
that's
man?
what we're not the case agents, but what you got to do, they have reduced your bond quite a bit. It's 2 felony charges for voter fraud, but
They reduced his bond. He got 2 felonies. Now, remember I said it's got to be sexual assault or murder. Now, according to this, they trying to tell him he can't vote for what? Let's go back over this again.
agents, but what you got to do, they have reduced your bond quite a bit.
They reduced his bond. What bond? Why I ain't got a bond? Why? What you mean they reduced my bond? What are you talking about?
It's 2 felony charges for voter fraud, but they've reduced it to $500 bonds.
It's 2 felony charges. How are you going to get felony charges for voter fraud and you have to pay a $500 bond? Again, this is a fear tactic in a voter scheme. So if I go out there and vote, and let's say a lot of times you got your paper document, and sometimes when you slide the paper into the machine, it don't pick up the count. So you slide it in again, and again it don't pick up the count. And it slide again and finally a count. But you thinking that it counted you finally that one time when it actually counted you 3 times, and God know where it's going to. Because that's how tricky these machines are. So they'll have you in the system as voting 3 times. And in Florida, they're going to come pick you up for this and say, hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's okay. And it's no big deal. We're just going to take you downtown. Who wants to get in the cop car and be embarrassed and go downtown over voter fraud? Because those people ain't looking in the car thinking, oh, man, he went to jail for voter fraud. No, they don't even know. They think you really must have did something. You stole a pack of chicken, a couple pack of cigarettes or something out the store, or you beat your wife up or something like that. They don't know what you're going to jail for. So it's embarrassing, number one. Number two, you're being accused of a crime that you didn't commit. Because you know you didn't commit it. The machines are faulty anyway. So you could end up voting 2-3 times and not even know it. And then now y'all want me to pay $500 to get out of jail? Man, Ron DeSantis is running the scheme. Everybody talking, I'm looking over here, and I got this good old boy right here, unashamed, probably talking about Joe Biden, rightfully so. Talk about him. I don't like him as a president. But you got this Ron DeSantis nut-winger is trying to use Bull Connor type scare tactics by having the cops come to your home, threaten to throw you in jail, but it's okay. You're not going to have to spend a day in jail. You're just going to sign some documents and you're going to pay a $500 bond. And we'll give you probably the opportunity to pay that within 90 days, or we'll give you the opportunity to pay that over a 6-year period. Who got that kind of money? Who want to go through that embarrassment? All for voting? It's my right to vote. Let's keep going.
So it's $1,000 total.
Oh my God, man! What?
Yes, sir.
So it's $1,000, 2 felony accounts. When we just read that the only way you won't be able to vote is it got to be for, sexual assault or murder. This guy haven't done neither one. They popping up at your house. And they're gonna tell you got 2 counts. He probably did vote. He probably voted 3 times because of the freaking machine. Probably because it happens. It happened here in New York to me before. I had to slide it in 3 times for it to finally register. I'm like, what's going on? People talking about, I don't know. Let's try it again. The lady tried it. She pushed it in for me. Pushed it in. I tried it. Next thing you know, You think you voted one time, you voted 3, and now they're knocking on your door saying you voted 2 times more than you needed to vote, and that's a felony, and we're going to charge you for each time that you voted. That's 2 felonies, and now you got to pay a $500. Don't worry about it. We got to take you downtown. You're not going to go to jail, but you pay a $500 bond time 2. This is a money racketing scheme. And Ron DeSantis need to be ashamed of yourself, and that's why even though neither one of them got reparations on a platform, I wouldn't vote for neither one of them. Even if Ron DeSantis had representation on a platform, I can't support nobody like that, man. That dude's a scumbag. A scumbag. Joe Biden's an old, decrepit, old bigot, old racist. Can't even remember what he's racist about, but it just come out naturally. You know, and he'll forget about it 5 minutes later. This dude makes no sense.
Unfortunately, right now, we're going to have to take you to jail.
Wow, man. Why are they doing this to me? That's what you're getting? I didn't do nothing to nobody, man. Voter fraud. What is voter fraud?
Voting when you're not supposed to, sir. Is what our understanding of it.
How are you going to tell him voting when he's not supposed to? The only people that don't get a chance to vote are the people that are actually in prison. When you get out and you do your time, your voter's privilege is restored. What is he talking about? And again, according to the law, only a couple things can stop you from voting.
Because of your sex offender status, you're not supposed to be.
Oh, they claiming that he's a sex offender.
You don't have a non-support warrant. Nobody, what they got? I don't know this. Voter fraud.
Let's walk over to my car,
Why is
okay?
y'all doing this now and this happened years ago?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
This is crazy, man.
The man has done his time. You don't vote if you're dealing with that situation. You don't vote while you're in jail. Now you're out of jail. You did your time. Your rights should be restored. I don't care if you did murder somebody. I don't care what you did. Your rights should be restored because you did your time. And I don't care what you Trump nut huggers Republicans say, because if you're in that position, you would be saying the same thing if it was on your end.
Yes, sir.
We're going to go over to the hood of my car, and I'm going to search you, okay?
What is wrong with this state, man?
You got an idiot for a governor.
Voter fraud.
Whoever houses that, boy, they keep that yard clean. Wait, there's more. There's more. Here's a young lady, elderly woman, going through the same thing.
Who's Talking is my new one-on-one interview show with some of the biggest names around that you'll see in a whole new light.
Who's Talking to Chris Wallace?
Chris
Sunday
Wallace
nights
get
at
on
7
CNN?
on CNN.
Man, we have a warrant for your arrest. For what? For voter fraud.
Good, how are you, sir?
Right?
A newly obtained police body camera video shows Tampa police officers arresting Ramona Oliver for allegedly voting illegally in the 2020 election.
All right. So I know you're caught off guard, but unfortunately that's how this stuff works, okay?
I'm like, what the hell?
So,
Claiming that she's voted illegally in the 2020 election.
Okay. I'm like, voter fraud. I voted, but I ain't commit no fraud.
well, so that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant. That's what it's for.
The videos, first reported by the Tampa Bay Times, provide a fresh glimpse into a far-reaching state operation in August to crack down on supposed voter fraud.
The state of Florida has charged and is in the process of arresting 20 individuals across the state for voter fraud. These folks voted illegally.
Now, this bigot, 20 people. Out of the millions of people in Florida, 20, I told you the numbers of voter fraud is so freaking low. He's going to go all into this to get the ability to stop voter fraud, and he only stopped 20, and those 20 are questionable. And they sitting up there celebrating, woo! Woo!
In this case, and there's going to be other grounds for other prosecutions in the future.
There's going to be other grounds for other prosecution in the future. In other words, they're going to start adding more charges. They want to pass laws that add more charges to keep you from voting.
They are disqualified from voting because they've been convicted of either murder or sexual assault.
Oliver is a convicted felon. She served 20 years in state prison for second-degree murder, according to her attorney, Mark Rankin. Her attorney told CNN Oliver was approached at a bus stop one day on the way to work by someone registering voters, and she told them she was a felon. Rankin says the person then told Oliver that she could fill out the form, and if she was eligible, she would get a voter registration card. He says Oliver later received a voter registration card in the mail and therefore thought she was eligible to vote.
I got out. The guy told me that I was cleared to go vote or whatever because I had done my time.
Yep.
I was finished. I didn't owe nobody nothing.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know what happened. All I know is that you have a warrant, and all it does is say you have a warrant, and I got to go arrest you.
Her attorney says, quote, she served her time and got out, and she got out around the time that Amendment 4 was passed, which affected the rights of felons to vote. Her understanding was that felons had their rights restored. Oliver pleaded not guilty to the illegal voting charge and has a trial set for December. These were the first arrests by Governor Ron DeSantis' newly formed Florida Office of Election Crimes and Security, which was an agency created to probe alleged voting irregularities. Almost immediately after the charges were filed, questions surfaced about whether the individual knew they were violating the law by voting. CNN affiliate WPLG spoke to one of the individuals arrested, Ronald Miller.
I got it out the mailbox thinking that my rights were restored as the guy told me when I had filled the paper out. So I was happy.
Miller, a convicted felon who served time for murder, also says he received a voter ID card in the mail and was arrested in August for allegedly violating the state's voting laws.
1, 2, 3, 4, and all over like this at the door with assault rifles, U.S. Marshal like this. My house surrounded.
And John, here's something important to note. Here in the state of Florida, state law requires the state to notify local election officials if a voter is convicted of a felony or not eligible to vote. In the 5 counties where these arrests took place, the local election supervisors tell CNN the state did not inform them that these voters were not eligible.
Now, ain't that something? Let's go back up here. Now, nationally speaking, once you do your time, even if it is murder, even if it is sexual assault, your rights are restored, even your voting rights. If you've done your time, why are you taking that privilege from them? Other rights they have the right, they can go get an apartment, they can go get a job, they can go apply for certifications in different fields of work, but they can't vote. You're still going to take taxes out on them, but they can't vote. This is what you call unfair. Some murders are false. Some people just plead guilty because they don't want to go through the headache. Some people were self-defense. People get sexually accused all the time. Some people actually do it. The point is, you do the crime, of course you do the time. But when you do the time, you should be able to go back into society and get your rights restored. You don't have any rights while you're in there because you're pretty much on a plantation. But once you get out, your rights should be restored. Now, this is the state of Florida. At that time, Ron DeSantis was governor, not Charlie Crist, not Rick Scott. Ron DeSantis was the governor I believe, during that time. And even if he was, Republican Rick Scott was the governor. Voldemort himself. It is the state responsibility to make sure that these people don't be registered to vote. They cannot send people to their house and allow them to register to vote. That is the fault of the state. It's as the state was trying to cause conflict. Who runs the state? Either Governor Rick Scott or Ron DeSantis. So either way, whether it's there you go, they're a felon, they murdered somebody and they did some sexual assault to somebody, so they don't get a right to vote, which is stupid and wrong because they did the time. They're not in prison. Of course, in prison, you're not going to be able to vote. You shouldn't be able to vote. You got a lot of things taken away from you. You're on a metal plantation now. You're not your own. But out here, so-called freedom land, you should be able to vote. Now, again, I am a fan that you got to have ID. You should be able to vote however you want. It should be open primaries. You shouldn't have to join a political party to be able to vote for somebody in a political party that you like what they talking about and their platform. But you shouldn't have this cloud over your head that am I eligible to vote? What if I do? No. If you are a free man in the United States and you're a citizen, you should be able to vote. If you did get incarcerated and you did the time and you did the crime and you did the time, your rights should be restored, because the federal government is going to have the right to tax you once you start working. They're going to have the right to do whatever they want to do once you get out of jail. Because believe me, anything that you get, they want some of it. If you drive your car across a toll, they're going to get some of that. So Ron DeSantis figuring this is a way to put fear in the hearts of anybody that think they're going to vote. I just did it. Because I went and picked up somebody's grandma. I picked up somebody's uncle. I did that. And then he said, I'm going to add more stuff to it. The only way he can add more stuff to this dumb law, the only reason he adds stuff to it is if he get reelected. Sure enough, when he get reelected, he's going to try to add more reasons for you not to vote. And it's primarily going to be things that blacks have a habit of doing. Don't say habit. The things that we're accused of the most is going to be in that policy that if you did that, if you stole a pack of steaks for over $50, you lose your right to vote. Whatever it takes, we stopping you from voting. Because if you vote, we lose. But if we can keep the vote turnout low, whether we use fear tactics or not, we win. And right now, I need to win because I'm scared Charlie Crist is going to whoop my behind. Because if Charlie Crist beat me, then I'm toast. I ain't got a chance and snowball chance in hell or heaven to run for president. Because now I look like a failed governor, and you are. Again, don't get me wrong. I rock with him on the COVID thing. But other than that, you are not a good governor. You're brutal, ignorant, racist, bigot governor. And you don't need to be the governor. You barely won that race. And the only reason you won that race is because that dummy that ran against you called it off too quick. The election was close. Called it off. Number one, when he won his nomination, he started letting these traditional Democrats run with him for office, and they didn't want him in the office in the first place. They wanted Bob's granddaughter to run, and that was the DNC choice. He had to fight up against them to win that nomination, and he did. And then once he won, here come Hillary Clinton and all these bombing, all that stuff, and people wasn't feeling that. So he ended up lost, barely losing. And he caved in too quick. I want to cave in. You got all these ignorant people frauding the votes, Democrats and Republicans in Florida. One of them went to jail for it. Cheating for Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Guys, if you're going to vote, I want to tell you to vote for this fool. Because he's going to do whatever he can to stop you voting forever. Now me, I said if. Because I don't care if you like them or not. If they don't have a black agenda, I wouldn't vote for them. Now, you can do whatever you want to do. If you don't care enough to have an agenda for my people, which Ron DeSantis don't have, Charlie Crist don't have, then you can count me out like New Edition. I ain't voting for you. But if reparations and the black agenda was not on the table, and if it was the old Robert and the way he used to look at voting, I'd show when to vote for this fool. Yeah, this guy is a vicious racist. He is Joe Biden in the 90s. And that guy don't need to be no more than a governor. He need to go back to whatever he's doing. School teaching, mopping floors, stripping in some old gay bar or something like that. I don't know what it is. He need to go back to it. Because this ain't it. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I guess I'll holler at you guys later. I love you. Peace.